After racing the Vendée Globe and deciding to move here, I kind of do a different kind of sailing. So this year I've been cruising quite a lot with my kids in Polynesia and with friends on an adventure boat. Just moved to San Francisco and I'm so excited to go and race across the Pacific.
This is really serious. We're fishing. I got all these lures. I got 200-pound tests. So I'm good for like up to 199.5 fish.
So we've been talking about this for 40 years, and about 40 years ago we thought we'd make this trip and never happened. And life got in the way, and kids and family and business, and now it's time to go do it.
I've been wanting to do this my whole life. My dad was talking about sailing to Hawaii when I was a little kid, 5, 6 years old, and I thought if my dad talks about it so much, it must be really cool.
I work on a lot of different programs, and it's really nice to sail your own boat sometimes. It's just a sweet ride, it's addictive.
It's really cool that we have 7 Express 27s going to the Pac Up, racing in the Pac Up this year, and that's a unique thing. We were in early, but it's great the way that momentum built.
We're thinking about going with my partner on our bigger boat on the Shock 40, but we saw all the Express 27s signed up and decided that if we were ever going to sail Express double-handed to Hawaii, this year was the year. It's a great crowd.
The Express 27 fleet is a co-opetition, you know, where we compete hard, but we're all friends and we all like push each other to a higher level.
It's supposed to be pretty windy for the first 2 days of the race, first 3 days of the race.
It's a survival mission as well as a competitive mission. It doubles down on the spice and the effort and the work and the pleasure of pulling it off right and getting out on the race course with your boat, your friend.
50K. We're compressing our sails in these vacuum bags. We've got a small boat, an Express 27. And we need every inch of space we can have.
Boat name is Bombora, sail number 38047. 3 people on board as listed.
Very good, Bombora. Have a great race and aloha.
Aloha.
The Monday group of starters, roughly half the fleet spread across 4 divisions, were greeted by picture-perfect conditions in San Francisco Bay before stepping out into a long and windy reach once offshore. And just like that, the 2018 Pacific Cup is underway. Here, the Cal 40 Green Buffalo jumps out to an early lead in the Coral Reef Sailing Apparel A Division. The highly anticipated Express 27 One Design division proved to be a thriller from the get-go. Pre-race favorite, Motorcycle Irene. The DH2 Mount Gay Rum division gets underway with a diverse and competitive field of entries. Here, the all-new Beneteau Figaro 3 à Fond les Girofons in a close cross with the Moore 24 Foamy. The hot new Beneteau is the first ever boat equipped with hydrofoils to enter the Pacific Cup. Lester Robertson first sailed a Moore 24 to Hawaii in the 1980 single-handed Transpac. 38 years later, he's in a fight for his life against liver cancer. Fair winds, Lester. The Kolia Cruising Division, the biggest in the race with 14 boats, sails across the start with 2 dueling Hanzi 505s full of hotshot racing sailors. A cruising boat could well be the first boat into Kaneohe.
We all kind of came together because everyone needed this. Everyone that's on the boat right now is doing it because they need a break from life. They need something, a reason to get up in the morning, something to get our heart beating again.
Born and raised in Hawaii, grew up sailing there all my life. I've got a pretty deep connection with this boat. My father and a good group of his friends built the boat in 1976 in Honolulu, in Hawaii, with the sole intention of winning the SORC and winning Transpac. You know, being that it's been something that's been a legendary boat for our family my whole life. So really excited to go for a sail on it and be a part of the kind of tradition of Sweet Okole and her races across the Pacific.
I think the best part about this race is going to be the opportunity to race with my little brother. It's his boat. He was nice enough, he still loves me enough apparently, to invite me to race to Hawaii, and then we were able to get two of our other buddies from Cal Maritime. We're all under 30, a good group of guys. We've grown up racing together, and we went to college together, and now we're going to get to sail to Hawaii together, and hopefully my brother and I are still speaking when we get there.
By the time that Wednesday morning rolled around, the Monday starters were making excellent pace to Hawaii. Veteran Pac Cup racer Jim Quancy and his Cal 40 Green Buffalo led the race overall, while the new Beneteau Figaro 3 was the closest boat to Hawaii and was blazing a fast course to the islands. While the Monday starters had great breeze, the Wednesday starters were looking at a very slow escape from the coast that would only worsen as time went on. Conditions were again stunning inside the bay, however, for the 17 yachts that would make up the day's two starts. Casey Smith's Grand Soleil 50 Alessandra powers across the starting line at the head of the Weems & Plath B division. The highly anticipated and hotly contested Alaska Airlines C division got off to a thrilling start, with many of the 10 teams making their presence felt early. Like the Wednesday starters before them, Thursday's lone group of starters in the Pasha Hawaii D division were also expected to have light and sticky conditions in getting away from the coasts.
Last time we learned we didn't need all the sail that we carried, basically, so we trimmed it down a little bit and gonna give it another shot. Changed the crew up a little bit this time, going a little bit lighter, so a little less sail, a little less weight on the boat, less of everything.
So our J-World sailing programs take crews of coaches from J-World Sailing and clients from all over the country and all over the world, and we give them an opportunity to experience offshore racing and adventures like the Pacific Cup, turning people onto the sport, getting them to resonate to the things that we all know is a fantastic environment. That's what it's all about for us.
In realizing my sister had always wanted to do this, it came into my mind, and then one day I was just reading Latitude 38 and saw this report on J-World, and I looked them up, and that just sort of formulated the idea to put this family group together and head for Hawaii.
The Melges 32 Roofless, one of the pre-race favorites, charges the start with J-World's DK46 Kazan close behind. The final start of the Pacific Cup is for the biggest and fastest yachts in the race. With 5 70-footers and an ultra-quick 41-footer, the BMW of San Rafael E Division enjoyed a perfect start before also setting out into a light, slow, complicated weather window. With the entire fleet now underway and racing to Hawaii, the big boats in the Friday start got off to a better start than predicted and were quickly moving up the overall leaderboard. Ahead of them, the foiling Beneteau at Fond-les-Girofons remains the closest boat to Hawaii and was beginning to reach the trade winds. The Cal 40 Green Buffalo was still the overall race leader, although a massive north-south split had opened up amongst the first wave of starters. The results were about to get shuffled as the leaders approached light air. Meanwhile, behind them, the Mills 68 Prospector had navigated a brilliant route and was laying down a fast passage to Kaneohe. Many of the early race leaders hit light airs up north, only to watch their more southerly rivals come blasting up from behind. With nearly every class up for grabs until the very end, the 20th edition of the Pacific Cup was a navigator's duel, with many battles being won and lost at the chart table. "11 days after leaving San Francisco, Charles Devenot and Matthew Damerval, on board at Fond-les-Girofons, became the first boat to finish the 2018 Pacific Cup, writing a beautiful chapter in the history of the race. When two Frenchmen sailed the first ever hydrofoil-equipped boat in the race, they led from start to finish and were the first boat into Kaneohe. They may have sailed with an unofficial and experimental rating, but with the celebration of Bastille Day and a French World Cup football win along the way, it's a moment that none of us will soon forget."
I do it because I love it. It's just fun to have the chance to be the test pilot for a new boat.
So that was really awesome. The five first day was really strong wind, so the boat was really fast with his foil, and we've got the weather forecast for the boat, so it was really cool.
Just hours later, the Mills 68 Prospector came storming into the bay at sunset to claim the fastest passage elapsed time and overall race victory.
See the dead mother?
Right, we started a few years ago with some friends from the Shelter Island Yacht Club, and we recently expanded it to a couple of different owners, and we've been able to knock off a bunch of the classic ocean races in the world. We've sailed the Transatlantic race, we've sailed the Middle Sea race. Last year we won the Pineapple Cup, and so we thought we'd try our hand out here on the West Coast and sail some of the West Coast races, which have been terrific, particularly the Pac Cup. And then we're going to take the boat from here to Australia to do the Sydney Hobart. You know, we were a little excited to find out that when we came out of San Francisco Bay, what we thought was going to be 4 knots of breeze ended up to be 10 to 12 knots of wind, and we were able to get south. But by far the best part is going fast downwind, and that's why this race was so terrific for us.
The third boat into Kaneohe was KYC Commodore Frederick Berg and his co-skipper Mike Bacon on the Antrim 27 Bacon Burger. Coming into the bulkhead under sail in the wee hours of Friday night to claim second place in a very competitive division, the two local sailors were given a hero's welcome. One of the most successful boats in the history of racing to Hawaii, Roy Disney's Andrews 68 Piowacket, finished on Saturday afternoon to win the premier BMW of San Rafael E Division in a convincing fashion, though they were not eligible for the overall victory due to differences in the rating rules and their own sail selection. With a highly optimized Alan Andrews designed platform and some of the best professional sailors on earth, it was a brilliant result for the team and a warm homecoming for local Kaneohe sailor and two-time Volvo Ocean Race veteran Mark Towell. In a thrilling come-from-behind fashion, the J92 Zaf came ripping into Kaneohe to claim first place in an ultra-competitive Alaska Airlines C Division. The intrepid Canadian sailors were given a very lively welcome in Kaneohe. In the Express 27 fleet, pre-race favorite Will Paxton was left bowing to his cousin Julia as the younger Julia and her partner Andy Goodman were simply unbeatable.
It was great. I mean, it was an awesome run, but they were they were a machine. It was awesome. Every time we tried to get a little advantage, they were there.
I've done this race a bunch. I think this was my 19th crossing to Hawaii. And I've done a bunch of racing on Santa Cruz 70s with the world's best navigators who really know how to play the game and use the tracker and look at the weather. And the game that we played versus them, I've never seen better. It was like racing my shadow, and I was very humbly impressed. You guys did an amazing job.
Wow, I'm speechless. Thank you. Oh my God. I'm glad you have that on tape. Yeah. Andy actually called me up on deck because he's like, I see sails on the horizon in front of us, and we got out the binoculars and we see a black carbon main and an express rig. I'm like, that can only be Will. Slatting back and forth, and we're like, maybe we shouldn't sail up to him and say hi, which we wanted to. And we actually sailed away from him because you told us where the hole was, and I think that may have been the moment where you showed us where the biggest hole was, I think.
After being humbled by Big Breeze in the 2016 edition of the race, the Melgis 32 Roofless was unstoppable in the late stages of 2018 to claim victory in the Pasha Hawaii D Division. The J35 Shearwater sailed to a commanding win in the Weems and Plath B Division. Owning the South for most of the race, Bill and Melinda Erklands pulled off a third consecutive win on their Jim Donovan-designed 30-footer Wolfpack, this time winning the Mount Gay Rum double-handed division.
So we decided to do the South thing, and it took a while for it to pay off. And so there was like several days where we were like, ooh, I'm not sure if we did the right thing, and then it finally started to come right.
The Hansi 505 Anais was the first cruiser into Hawaii after a 2,000-mile battle against sister ship Outremer.
We were pushing it to the max because even though it's a cruising class, all those guys were frickin' racing. These guys are all racers in San Diego, and we were pushing it the whole way. So even though it's cruising, like, that was a race for sure.
Multi-time race veteran Jim Quancy skippered the venerable Cal 40 Green Buffalo to an impressive victory in the Coral Reef Sailing Apparel A Division. For both the racers and the dedicated staff of volunteers who make this race happen, the Pacific Cup is both a celebration of the sport and a reunion among friends that is years in the making. Thank you so much for being a part of this incredible event this year, and we hope to see you again in 2020. Aloha.
Chug it, bro. Go, Zap. 1, 2, 3. Woo!
Obviously, being a fan of sailing, I've been following boats with drones for a while, and we're really excited to do it ourselves. We're batting 500 on takeoffs and landings.
Thank you so much.
Manolo? No. What do you say at the end? Maloha?
Oh, mahalo.
Mahalo. Mahalo.